Human beings,
and they're
not our
Humans.
target market.
Humans, you're not a target.
Yeah.
yeah, but again, still a lot of these individuals who aren't considering, hey, travelers have different personas, and when they're just doing X, maybe Airbnb perfectly suits their needs for
So
whatever reason. Now,
gladly
again,
ignore
it's
an
not necessarily.
opportunity and
Amazon
allow
started selling books, right? Amazon was
Right.
Yeah.
So I was at ITB last week, and Airbnb spoke at one of the sessions that they had, and I didn't go, but the room was completely full. In fact, it was so full that there was overflow out into the hallway, out beyond the room, and I was trying to navigate through the hallway through the sea of people standing around watching the panel on big screens. And I was trying to navigate through this sea of people to get to my next appointment. So to your question earlier, Stuart, I think the industry is somewhere between the second stage of panic, of ignoring and panic.
Yeah, I
Right,
agree.
because I mean, there were
I think
many
panic
people. There were
set in.
Now, did you
hundreds
get-
of people.
Were you able to see who was speaking? Was it Senator Palpatine? Just curious.
No, I didn't
I'm
get
asking for a friend.
I'm
asking for a
pretty-
friend.
But
I'm pretty short, so I couldn't really see over the heads of the crowd.
but
That's
look at but Airbnb is doing such smart things compared to the hotel groups, though, because with the Airbnb Plus, they're now breaking down these different experience and subsegments, right? So they're bringing in boutique hotels, which I think we've mentioned before on the show, also brings in the dimension of, oh, they have restaurants and cool rooftop bars and swimming pools and health clubs.
gyms.
And I think there's
Yep.
gyms, all that sort of stuff. That's going to be a big plus, which helps Airbnb, helps the property. But they're also doing things where they'll say, hey, this is a great little segment for honeymoons, right? This is a great one for whatever medical tourism. This is a great, all these different little subsets, because again, Airbnb's problem is they've got, the one thing they know is every unit they sell is different, right? I mean, that is a given from square one. So how do you match it started out as the host to the guest, and I think they still kind of, maintain that sort of thing. Why is that
But
person
it's the correct
traveling?
way to
Where's
look at the
best
hotel
spot?
market. I mean, here's the thing.
Exactly.
Yes,
They entered and
yes.
scaled. Yeah, they entered
Yeah.
and scaled in the much harder part of the market. So now
Right.
they're going to
Right.
the easier part of the market. Well, Expedia and Booking.com are sitting there scratching their heads on how to even touch the vacation rental market, make it apply to the model that their consumers are used to.
That's right. Airbnb
Right.
got merchandising correct from the very
Yeah.
beginning, to your point, because of their differentiated inventory, right? So now they're going to scale up to, again, as Ed says, a much more, I don't want to say cookie cutter because I'll offend every customer I have, but a less differentiated product. How about that?
Compared to vacation
Well, no.
rental,
You're right.
there's
Yeah.
far more consistency
Yeah.
in product.
For sure. Hey guys, I
but-
gotta leave in about 5 minutes. Just
All right. So
okay.
Stuart, what are your thoughts on
What do you
the?
want to talk about, Stuart?
I wouldn't mind touching on that Expedia report that came back claiming that OTA. So a survey sponsored by Expedia came back saying that OTA guests were more valuable than non-OTA guests.
Yes.
Oh, yes.
Their
Yeah.
response to Airbnb, right?
Yes. Yeah. So they're
Right.
they're
Here's our
trying.
reason
They're
for
trying,
existence.
but not in a very
Really?
successful way.
And I would say that was a very specialized, very focused analysis. And actually the same way,
politically correct way of saying that, Robert.
Agenda.
Very specialized.
Yeah. Listen,
very,
Expedia-
very specialized universe of people. that are
Expedia is
selling.
masterful at painting a picture with analytics. If we all remember, one of the big things they came out with was their study on the amount of site visits during travel search. And if you actually read a lot of the stuff on how they presented, it's like you thought that all those site visits were related to the travel search. No. They were just all the sites they visited during the time period that they were being tracked from first thinking they wanted to travel to traveling. So it included their utility bill payment. And it included their, Facebook and
this was the underpinning for the Billboard study, right?
right.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah. And so, listen, sure. I'm sure there is an audience that Expedia touches that is incredibly high value and higher value than a normal traveler. the question is like, what does that mean to a hotel? Like,
Yeah.
is that the lion's share of what you're getting from Expedia?
Yeah.
Right.
And I was talking to a client after this study came out, and the first thing they jumped in was, well, the problem is loyalty is a big deal, and Expedia people are not loyal unless you make a real concerted effort to convert them to a direct booker next time and get them to come back. They're loyal to Expedia. So maybe, and I don't think they proved that there was any kind of causation. I think it was a correlation based on the data they looked at. Maybe that they worth more that one stay, but we all know in the hotel industry that one stay is not what we're trying to get. And then we're going to spend more to get them the first time, but we want them to come back again and again and again. So,
Yep.
Right. Well, and what they were looking at in terms of saying that OTA book guests stay longer. Well, that's just because it's a leisure customer versus a corporate traveler, right? And it's like, duh.
yeah, there was a lot of
but
data.
the ADR, the actual ADR on a leisure traveler for an OTA is lower than that. Now, again, they're saying here's the total spend, but that total spend is all the everything they're doing in their experience and their trip. So it's a lot of a lot of kind of conveniently, cherry picked numbers getting.
What was interesting to me about it was Expedia for me were going in the right direction, right? Because they are vilified and hated by the industry in a lot of ways. The industry relies on them too heavily, but as a necessity. But for the most part, most hotels do it begrudgingly. But they were trying to with Rev Plus and some other tools they were creating and giving data back to the hotels. I felt like they were doing the right thing. They were becoming a partner, not a leech that was stealing their money. And it seems like, one, they haven't done a good job following through on that stuff. Like the adoption isn't there. They haven't spent the time on the service side trying to get people to use it.
I think with Rev Plus, they've hit some issues. I don't think it's been what they envisioned.
Well, it certainly doesn't deliver on the promise, the initial promise. But there's value there that I don't think the majority of hotels are not taking advantage of, and Expedia haven't helped them to take advantage of it. So I think that would have been a better strategy versus this smoke and mirrors nonsense that tries to trick people into thinking they're more valuable than they are.
But hey, they needed something that Skift would publish.
So they paid Skift some money, and Skift would publish it.
That's not a benchmark.
and again, from the studies back in, for leisure travelers, say going to Las Vegas, let me tell you, if you start looking at a brand like Southwest Airlines Vacations versus Expedia, you want those. If you're a casino, you want the Southwest Airlines Vacations customer.
Oh yeah,
much higher quality customer than an Expedia person.
I'm just going back to a little bit with the Airbnb conversation and Expedia's countering to it and so forth. I've been doing more and more in-depth research on Airbnb for project work. And one thing I got to say about it that impressed me is that they really have worked on developing a community and culture about those who are engaged with Airbnb. Yep. And I know it's dangerous to say our industry has lost that.
They actually understand how to create loyalty.
Right.
Relationships.
Right. And I don't think our industry, we've become so hyper-competitive and we've become so segmented, and maybe a reflection of more than just our industry. But we don't have a community representation of our industry to collaborate and work with. So the reason why they're getting the inventory and they're getting the boutique hoteliers is because they're stuck out there without a means of networking, communicating, and understanding best practices that now Airbnb is bringing to them, saying, hey, look, there's other people like you, and they have some cool ideas that you might want to adopt, and you can go talk to them directly. And that community thing has really improved the value proposition I feel that Airbnb represents now. And us as an industry, as good as we are at being hospitality, we don't really take care of our industry as well as we should.
Well, AHLA is really, it's a lobbying group, right? It isn't building a community of hoteliers or anything like that. That's really all they, do, right?
The division of focus and KPIs in this industry is what keeps it in this perpetual state that it's in.
That's exactly
this is why our industry is ruled by the public transportation entities. I mean, you're talking about the entities that provide the least valuable service get the largest share of wallet, which are the airlines.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sorry, that is 100% because of the conflicting interests inside of the business units of lodging.
That's exactly right.
Always going to be a problem.
Right. Yeah. This is the primary weakness of this industry is the multiple stakeholders.
Right.
I mean, I've seen it in every part of my career. It's just pervasive, and it's It's, so when we talk about Amazon, right, the only company I can see right now that could blow that up would be Amazon.
Right. By coming in and taking care of
that's right.
the REITs. If they buy the REITs, they eliminate one of the conflicting interests.
All the way back to the beginning.
So Valen, I agree. I'm right. Thank you. I agree that I'm
Wrong.
Mr. Robert.
To be fair,
I was just going to make the point that all the nice things we say about Stuart, we would never say to his face.
never.
So,
that's why I waited. I literally waited till he was off.
waited for him to say, then you can
why I was
compliment Stuart.
because he did come out and support me, which was very nice. The first time I've seen him at a chamber event. So I go to the chamber events a lot in Myrtle Beach. So yeah.
So Val, did you get a copy of the topics as well from Robert? Was he generous in his sharing?
He was.
Of course she did.
He
I would
was.
never leave Valen out of anything.
Valen, do you want to talk about why startups fail? You and I have watched a lot come and go over.
I went to ITB in Berlin last week, and part of my a big chunk of my job now at Nor1 is understanding, trying to identify strategic commercial partners for us. So I'm less and less involved in our day-to-day customer work, and more involved in understanding how we can expand our own distribution network. Nor1's distribution network itself. So I spent 90% of my time last week in Berlin talking to companies, and a lot of them were startups. And interestingly enough, all of you, especially Robert and Ed, will appreciate this. I talked to 3 companies whose value proposition is that they're basically positioning themselves as a switch between property management systems and vendors who want to write into and out of those property management systems. which, I thought, really? I felt like I was going through a time warp. And they're all getting funded, so they're all coming out of Techstars, and they're all 12, and they think they have the solution. They have very little industry knowledge. They have very few industry contacts. But I had one of them with a straight face tell me that they would build read-write integration into the top 10 property management systems by the end of this year. As a startup, right?
That's because they've got a chainsaw and some plumbing equipment, which is about what it takes to get. Stuff in and out of some of these things.
It's not like, so I had a conversation with one of the two.
So LMS, they're going to get a read write out of LMS.
Oracle.
You need a steep